Before we started pressing pills and synthesizing nature, we used the breath as medicine. I think the strongest man can be vulnerable. We're not human beings. We are spiritual beings, energetic beings going through a human experience. What is emotion besides energy in motion? I tore down my old buildings, this skyscraper of confidence upon my identity and what I offered, how I was entertaining people and also in their living room every Sunday. This changed my life and I want to share it.
Welcome back everyone to another episode of the Be Human podcast. In this episode, we were fortunate enough to sit down with Big Joe. Why is he called Big Joe? Because he's 6'8" and has a size 14 foot.
He's literally massive.
Yes.
He's a massive, massive man. This episode was phenomenal because we touched on a lot of key points that had to do with his own journey. He was a professional sports person, obviously, and due to injury, he had to reassess and change direction.
Yes.
And so
He wasn't a basketballer, he was an ex-NFL player.
Yeah.
Even though he was that tall.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so it was a beautiful episode because, you know, seeing a man that's that massive, that tall, go through that journey, share his vulnerability, speak about the courage it took, the death of that old self.
Yes.
I think those were the key parts for me that really stood out. It just showed how, you know, sometimes you really got to die to an old self for this new version of yourself to be birthed, I guess. And that was a massive a point for me. What was your favourite part?
Yes, definitely. Without giving too much away, the part of when he had to come to realisation that, you know, his lifelong dream that he actually achieved, reaching the NFL, was coming to an end prematurely, and using the power of breath to then help him, I guess, you know, rise from the ashes and find a new passion or new ambition in life.
Yeah.
So without giving too much away, tune into this one. It's remarkable. It is something special. And I think you would get a lot out of this, especially for, if you know, young guys, older guys, even the chicks will get a lot out of this.
100%. I think the way he sort of spoke about and explained everything and his own purpose through this, it's incredible, and it's beautiful to see strong masculine men doing this work. And so I hope you guys enjoy this episode, and until next time, ciao.
Peace.
Welcome back, everyone, to the first episode of the Be Human Movement podcast. Today we have got a very special guest. Actually caught us by surprise, to be honest. We've got Big Joe on today, and a little bit about Big Joe is he guides breathwork around the world, and he's leading international wellness retreats. So welcome to the podcast, Big Joe.
Thank you, Joey. Appreciate you.
So let us know what you're doing in Australia, my man.
Well, besides the beaches, good Asian food, and bad words, I got a twinkle in my eye when I went to Bali for my own purposes, but it putting myself out there branched out in a beautiful way where I got opportunities to meet people from all over the world, and that definitely included Australia because that's definitely a common destination for people from Australia to go to Bali. So with that, I put myself out there. It was really early in the stages of me actually guiding and sharing breath work. I did a lot of free work up until that point, but it was something that got me out of bed in the morning and gave me a purpose. And then how it was reflected, how it was received was undeniable. So I got my first taste of coming to Australia and Tasmania. Got an opportunity last May to guide breathwork all weekend at this yoga studio, just because I did a handstand class with someone next to me.
Okay.
And she said, "Hey, I own this yoga studio. You want to come by?" I'm like, "Sure."
Yeah.
And I had a little, I had an idea what it was going to be, guiding breathwork around the world, but I got a first taste of it from Australia. So coming back now, it's, basically a year and a half of, guiding and sharing this around the world. And now I'm more confident about it more than ever. This time last year, I was basically starting out. So now I have a year under my belt, and it's taken off almost to the point where a lot of imposter syndrome got in about, am I worthy to share this medicine? Because it's been around for thousands of years. And ego got into it as well. Hearing people say, this changed my life, or you changed my life. It felt good, but then I kind of removed that part of it and really found out that this is just me reminding people. And God gave me this 6'8" stature. When I walk into a room, people look. If I speak now, people listen. Yeah. So I want to say something and give something of value. And the value I do give is this breathwork thing really helped me. And I really do believe it could help you, whether you're ready for it or not. It's a simple practice, but nevertheless results in something very profound. And I've seen it time and time again. I've not only seen it with my life, but I've seen it with people all around the world that look different, men, women, anything in between, old, young. It doesn't matter if you speak the same language. I've taught people that don't speak any English. I have respiration in French. and even in Japan, I guided two young people, Japanese people, spoke very little English. I'm just pointing to my nose, pointing towards my mouth. I was pointing towards my belly and my chest and guiding them with just, beyond language. I think, with traveling, besides Australia, where pretty much everyone speaks English, at least some of the bogans. I don't know if that's English, but it goes to show that this whole communication is beyond just language. It's charades, it's intention, it's how you articulate it and how you show it. So I've developed this unwavering confidence on what the breath does. And like I said, it's been before we started pressing pills and synthesizing nature's gifts and, big pharma and that type of thing. Before that really started, we used the breath as medicine. And I like to remind people that it's not always external that you need. I think it's very internal. And it's also free 99. And
it's accessible.
24/7.
Yeah, 100%.
And I'm really big on how beautiful and expansive and life-changing psychedelics can be. And I've worked with shamans, road bosses, all the types, medicine, men and women. And they've offered, do you want to serve this medicine after working with it for so intimately, so long? And I always say no. Out of respect for it, no. I like to show people that it's possible to achieve these states, maybe unordinary states of consciousness, regardless, they're healing. You can heal, with this tool of the breath. And at this point, I'm here humbly in front of you guys to show it like it's bigger than me. And I'm here just to share it and remind it. And it's packaged in a certain way where I'm not just some hippie chick that's talking about the woo-woo spiritual. Yes. I can speak that language. But I like being myself. And I think it comes off more authentic because I think I said it a few times off camera or off the mic, was this changed my life.
Yeah.
And I want to share it.
Yeah, and I think more and more nowadays, I think that's important because I think the middle ground was where people were lost. They were either one end of the scale or the other, and people couldn't integrate that, couldn't blend it. They thought if you did this, you don't live a normal life, that you don't have a normal job, you don't have kids, you don't have stuff that comes up. And I think now collectively, I feel like it is a time where we become those steps for them, so that you go, hey, no, this is not about being one or the other. It's about living a quality life through this practice, right? So for people to get an idea of why this benefited you, I think, can you touch on how did you know? What did you measure against? What was your life like before? And then how are you here and what's the difference? Because I think that's the best part. So they need to know something about you prior to.
Well, I think we're doing this podcast because we already have a lot in common.
Yep.
We've gone through the fire and come out better and brighter.
Yeah.
A phoenix metaphor from the ashes.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
But that, let's say when football, American football for me was gone. Once my ankle injury took me out of the sport, I then dealt with that magical tooth fairy and the unicorn and the leprechaun, depression.
Yeah.
I thought breathing into a paper bag was fake. Anxiety,
Yes.
what the hell is that? That's just the tooth fairy. That's just the Easter bunny.
Yep.
Not for me.
Yep.
And even then, that was always there, but I could have an outlet. You know, we talked about anger before we started the podcast. Anger is a positive emotion.
Absolutely.
And tapping into that kept me at bay, kept me as a peaceful, a law-abiding citizen.
Yeah.
And then once that was gone, where does that go? How can I tap into that? How can I accept that emotion running through me, passing through me that I have such an intimate relationship with? How else do you impose your will and fight someone? Or for me, it was pushing someone out of the way, like a big ass human, getting him out of the way unless I could tap into something ferocious, tap into something aggressive. And once that was gone, I was like, okay, where do I put all this?
Can I just interrupt you? As
Go
you're
ahead.
saying that, right? I'm thinking about my son, and this is why I took him out of main school. I'm homeschooling him because, as you're saying, as a grown man, you expressed anger in a healthy way, and it gave you peace, right? So if you look at our school system and stuff, we're not taught to regulate those emotions, right? We're taught that they're bad. Right, and so I looked at the whole picture, and I was like, okay, where is my son going to be able to express anger, right, and find his peace in that instead of being told it's a bad thing and suppress it? And repression and suppression is what causes disease. It causes anxiety. It causes depression because you're not able to express. So then think about that school system. Mostly, you got women teaching all the kids as well. The dynamic's different. And certain things are obviously valued over others, right?
You got to fall in line too.
Absolutely. But I look at that raw thing of what being human is. That's the fundamental. We can't avoid that. Breath brings you back into that.
Yes.
Right? And this is why it's so powerful, because it's stopping you from denying yourself of being human. You can't get out of this. You can't avoid this. You can't elevate and, go into that space. That's great, but it has to be through the body.
Yeah.
Has to be.
And I'm gonna add another level to what you just said. I have I'll speak a little woo woo right now for
Go
you
for
guys,
it.
but I'll keep it grounded as much
Yep.
as I can. We're not human beings.
Agreed.
We are spiritual beings, energetic beings going through a human experience.
Yep.
Exactly, yeah.
Whatever you believe in, space, time, multiverse, we've done this many times before. And when it comes to these emotions that pass through us, I have an understanding and a intimate relationship with these emotions now, and a better understanding and education around them. That what is emotion? What is emotion besides energy in motion? And it's passing through us. And if we resist any of these emotions, they can stick to us.
Yep.
They can
Yep.
create this irritability. They can create this anxiety. They can also create physiologically this
Well,
hunchback
it's distortion.
distortion.
That's
People that have a
distortion.
limp in their step, or you can feel it when you hug them, that type of thing. I was in Mexico recently, and I was just drinking some cacao on the streets of Sayulita, and these two women, we started talking. We had their chairs next to each other, and one, great energy. Funny enough, she used to own a yoga studio in Melbourne. So I'm gonna go to crazy,
That's
right?
it.
Yeah.
The universe, God was like, hey, take this message. And then the other woman next to her, they had both gotten back from a yoga retreat. This woman, I can, whenever I tell stories, by the way, forgive me, but I feel the things I felt during that time. That's how I think the best storytellers do that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
In that moment, I went from peace and I felt this overwhelming, anxious, nervous feeling to the point, guys, where my lip was twitching, my hands were shaking. I felt this really heaviness on my chest, and I finally clocked it. I was like, wait a minute, this isn't me, it's you. And that's why you're not making eye contact.
Yeah.
Because you're unsure of yourself. There's insecurity, and that's okay. But it wasn't harnessed or packaged in a way where I could relate to you. And I remember she was telling stories, and she was very nervous, almost interrupting certain things, certain parts of the conversation. And I was like, what's going on? Why do I feel this? I mean, is it the cacao? Is it laced with something?
Being in Mexico.
Yeah, being in Mexico, you don't know. That's not cayenne pepper. So I was feeling this thing, and I'm like, and I asked one of my friends because they were near me, and I was like, "Did you feel that?" And she said, "Yes, I felt it too."
Wow.
And that's a testament to what I mentioned earlier: energy.
Energy.
All of it is an exchange.
Yes.
And I've developed a relationship where I know there's always an exchange. And I like to approach any interaction, whether short or brief or long, to share energy, but not to siphon it. And that's not always people's intention. They don't know that they're doing it, but they're doing it.
100%.
And I'm super sensitive to whom I do share my energy with, because if it's not reflected in a beautiful way, because we're all just reflections of one another.
Exactly, yeah.
And I know that if it goes to a compliment or anything that you observe, like your guys' energy, I love it. But me saying that is a reflection of what I love about myself.
Absolutely. Yeah, 100%.
Right. And even then, even if it's not something that I particularly love about myself, and that's the same goes in the opposite coin.
Mm-hmm.
If there's a certain irritability or something like, oh, I recognize that too, because either I'm going through it or I've gone through it. I recognize it, my own experiences.
Your body, your nervous system is familiar with it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, agreed. So when you went through that injury and you were coming out and you suffered depression, and what got you to even try and look at this way of sort of, doing it, or, being curious to this? Because I want people to understand, you don't always have to come from a very, I am broken, I am a victim, I'm this. You can be curious. Life, you don't have to try everything from a really, at the bottom level. Like, what got you into this space?
I hope people can try this without doing what I did, which was face planting rock bottom. And
that's what I'm saying. Me too.
Right. Yeah. and with football being over, obviously a large identity crisis.
Hell yeah.
I just basically I tore down my old building, this skyscraper of confidence upon my identity and what I offered, how I was entertaining people and also in their living room every Sunday and getting hundreds of texts and Snapchats and Instagram messages about, I see you on the film, so proud of you, da-da-da-da-da. And going from that to now my phone never rings.
Wow.
And, there's a trauma associated with that as well. So communication these days is difficult for me. Because I got used to it. I got used to my phone not ringing and not responding and that type of thing. But it really came down to a necessity. I think when I guide, it comes off authentically with my own personal intimate relationship with it. But I think people can feel, like I said, this saved my life, but people can feel it.
Yeah.
I'm not coming from a place where I'm trying to break the bank and be this big brand name around breathwork. I like just being a reminder. I like just being the messenger of the power that's already within us, but maybe it's been buried for someone else to feel bigger of themselves, or someone made themselves feel smaller and not feel the things they were supposed to feel, so that their surrounding could navigate smoothly. But no. If that disrupts, let it disrupt, and then let it visit and accept it. So I got to a point where I needed it. So I tore down my old home. Metaphorically.
I was going to say, did you?
No.
I thought you were being serious because
I burned the whole motherfucker down.
I just imagine this guy smashing walls like the Hulk.
Oh, there's his anger.
So with that, I put a meditation pad next to my bed, and before I took a step onto the ground, it was the meditation pad. And put my butt on it, listened to the headspace, got 100 days in a row, and it was good. It wasn't something that I ever left and I felt worse. I always felt better. And then I got this relationship with more peace of mind, clarity, less irritability, and also just touching on who I am, revealing and accepting who I am and my strengths and my weaknesses. And with that, I'll be very honest, meditation became very boring.
Yeah.
I'm being still. I'm not Jesus or Buddha. I'm not a guru. I'm not a shaman.
You came from something very stimulating as well.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Really stimulating.
That's very contrasting. Yeah.
Right. How do you go from the feeling of scoring a touchdown in front of thousands and
100%.
people and millions of people on TV to be on like, well, no one cares what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
So being in that meditation, I knew it was good for me, and I still meditate. But it's rare that I do meditation without breath work.
Yeah.
Right.
Because the breath work takes me there.
Yep.
It's an agent or a tool to get to that place a little sooner, a little quicker, to tap in. So meditation started, and then meditation got to a plateau, if you will. So then I kind of wanted to shake up the mundane, the monotonous, and I was like, hey, what now what? So then I got introduced to breathwork. And by the way, it wasn't right away. You know, this is in 2018, 2019. Introductions. And it started off very competitive. I was like, how long can I hold my breath? This is cool.
Oh, fuck, we got some stories.
How long can I hold my breath? And also that translated my understanding now. Actually, my first time really saying this out loud was that when I was trying to hold my breath competitively, you know, with my own self, I was reaching for something.
Yeah.
I wanted to attain. I would like, put one eye open and see if it was like 3 minutes or
Have
4
I got
minutes.
it yet? Yeah.
Have I got it yet?
Yeah.
And that it almost removed the true
Gift.
part, the
Yeah.
true gift of what it was
100%,
giving me.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until a few like jarring experiences, not only with myself, because there was times I was doing breathwork. I'm like, am I crazy? Why is my body twitching? Why do I see bright lights? Why am I seeing fractal patterns?
Yes.
Who's this Krishna guy? Like, what's going on? You know, I had no understanding of it. And also I was like, I'm crazy.
Yeah.
And then, you know, there was a few group breathwork classes that I took where actually like there was guides and facilitators. I was like, you're making me not like this. You know, this isn't about you. And why do you have a script? Read the room a little bit.
Yes.
And I think that is where my power stands, is like, you put me in a room,
You're good.
I'm all right. I'm going to get them. And then people ask me, oh, what kind of breath work were you doing today? I'm like, I don't fucking know. We'll figure it out.
We are so similar.
Well, I don't know.
It's freaking me out. Yeah.
Whatever arises.
Yeah.
And I like,
That's it.
I think even with breath work, it can be a little monotonous as well. Like I love Stanislav Grof. I love holotropic breath. I love Wim Hof. But I think from the basis of it, pranayama, yogic breathing, it's been around for thousands of years. There's so many different types to choose from. I like to mix it all up. I like to mix up my own
100%.
little cocktail.
Yeah.
And you guys will see it tonight.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
Mate, I'm pumped for it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm freaking out right now how fucking similar we all are, right?
Not surprised.
I fight, like I train fighters, professional and amateur fighters, MMA, boxing, kickboxing, and I have my whole life. So a lot of my coaching has stemmed from athletic-based stuff. I actually injured my back when I was about 22, about 10, 11 years ago. And that stopped me from being able to compete in MMA and everything. And I went through the same downward spiral. Then came anxiety, depression, suicidal thoughts, because my main passion and focus was gone, and that filled a big void growing up. So I struggled with all that over the years, and then we had the bullshit fucking lockdowns and shit come through. My gyms were closed, and you know, in that, similar to probably what NFL's like, right? A very alpha dominant testosterone, right? And it's like fucking, they all want to deal with their internal problems by reaching for other things outside of them instead of actually diving in and seeing what they're made of, right? So Aisha comes one day to me and she's like, what's wrong? I'm like, oh, fuck, the doctor's prescribed me these medications for anxiety, you know? And I started to build a belief system that I'm this anxious, weak, fragile person. And same thing like what you said before, you know, you've got this anger, but if you're using it in football. I was using my anger in training and in that world, yeah? And as soon as you cannot vent or express yourself in the same way, it starts to become violent, more at home. You know what I mean? So It builds. And you don't want to talk to too many people.
Because who the fuck can understand
Who's
you?
going to understand you? If you tell them you're feeling that way, go, the fuck, you're weak, you got depression. That's what they're going to say to you. Because you hear them say it to others, you know? And then when Aisha said, no, like, fucking give me 2 weeks before you touch these pills. She goes, do some breath work, do some meditation work, and do some cold therapy work. And I said, and similar to you, when you fucking face plant, you're ready for anything. Yeah. So I said, let's do it. And I laughed when you said it got competitive. Man, she goes, send me proof. I said, sweet, I'll send you proof. I fucking knocked myself out.
He passed out on the chair.
I sat there sitting up. I'm like, oh yeah, doing this breath work shit. Held my breath. Next thing you know, I'm like, fuck, my neck's a bit sore. I'm like, why is my neck so stiff? My eyes are closed. Open my eyes. I'm on the floor. I'm like, did someone hit me? So I get up. My neck, I face planted. I quickly jump on the cameras. Mate, I fucking went for it. Folded over, hit the concrete floor.
Oh shit!
Had a little knockout convulsion.
Yeah.
Woke back up, but I was more excited than ever because I was like,
Let's do it again.
fuck,
What the
let's
fuck
do this.
is this shit?
Like,
Yeah.
what the fuck is this? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then, mate, ever since then, it's like you feel like you've lost purpose because you've lost your main passion and drive. And all of a sudden you find this purpose again, right? And you just want to pass it on to people. So, like, for obviously what you do you do anything? Because what I have found as well with breath work, I deal with the fighters. And I've got a few fighters that do the breath work. And whatever people think of it being woo-woo or not woo-woo, whatever it is, they have found athletic performance enhancements from it.
Oh yeah.
So they can spar more rounds. They spar those rounds better. They deal with the anxieties better. Their cardio's bigger.
Their thinking is better.
Their thinking's better. We've brought that, body and mind balance in. Have you found that help with athletic performance?
Absolutely. It's funny you guys mentioned this because I was so into the spiritual element of it, the healing mental part of it, that I forgot physiologically you're changing.
Yeah.
You are changing. One, what's the main thing for healing and for performance? What is the main thing? Oxygen.
Yeah.
Okay. Oxygen, without a doubt. More oxygen, better, the quicker you heal. More oxygen in your blood, better. And then we get to the scientific part of these neurochemicals that are produced in your gut.
Absolutely. Yes.
There are three places where neurons are active. Your brain, obviously, your heart,
And your gut.
and your gut. And that was fascinating to me. That's when I dove
And
in.
do you know what? There's more messaging going from your body to your brain than your
Yes, from
brain
your
to your
stomach.
body.
Yeah.
The vagus nerve. And how do you stimulate that?
Absolutely.
Breath work. And these fun neurochemicals that are produced in the lining of your stomach, and you got tryptophan, oxytocin, the love chemical, dopamine, serotonin, all that stuff gets produced there. And then when it shoots up your vagus nerve into your brain, it does create these new neural pathways.
Yep.
And when you talk about brain and thinking and that type of thing, and just more clarity of being an athlete. So I describe, done this a few times, but sometimes in class I describe breathwork as either a fresh snow slope with fresh pow-pow, or more, since I'm speaking to a similar generation, you guys know a vinyl record.
Yep.
I was actually at this cool bar in Melbourne, Tamura Sake Bar.
Okay.
And there's like the little bar area, and they have sake in the back, very Japanese style, tapas style. But then they have this little vinyl record, and I'm like,
sweet.
whenever I see a vinyl record, I can't not think of my metaphor.
Yeah. Okay.
And this metaphor, bear with me here, I'll get there in a second, is that the grooves on the vinyl record create the sound waves when the pin goes over it. And let's just call that a song on repeat, and maybe a song that might not serve us that well. And what breathwork does, especially with a consistent practice, you're not going to be playing the same song over and over again. Talk about integration, but that vinyl record, once breathwork is performed in these healing modalities, it smooths out the record. Okay.
Absolutely.
Flat, no grooves. And how you integrate this powerful, profound practice into your everyday life, into your relationships, into your work, and just into yourself, you then get to decide what the new grooves are. You get this clean slate. So then you get to play a new song in your head.
Exactly, yeah.
And if you keep going at it, you'll be able to have a full album, full catalog
100%.
of new songs instead of just playing the same song over and over again.
Yeah.
I
It doesn't
think
serve anybody.
what you said, I wanted to touch on, because a lot of people, look, we're in an age of information consumption, right? So everybody knows what to do. There's so much out there now, but exactly what you said, they don't clean out the grooves first, right? So they don't get a clean slate. And I think that's what people are missing, is like, yes, there's plenty, but how much can you add when you already got those pathways that are so deep It's really hard to, this is why we feel overwhelmed, because you're trying to go against those grooves with something that hasn't been persistent and hasn't been done over and over again. So it hasn't got that potency, right? And that's why we think, oh, we're not good. You know, I'm not good at sticking to a diet. No, the pattern is really fucking deep. Yep. You got to clear the fucking pattern first. Right?
And then it's so easy.
Clean slate.
It's so easy to just grab a new,
100%.
buy a new vinyl record,
Yep.
and then throw the other one under the rug.
Yep.
And then you keep doing it, and then it's like, wait, what's that big pile of shit under your
there.
rug?
Yeah.
I'm like tripping over it and stuff.
And there's
you know?
no conflict there,
Right.
you know, because that when we're doing that, the body and the mind are actually fighting, right? So imagine when the body starts to work with the mind and the mind works with the body. That's where you're not there. It literally, the process is happening. There's no thinking. There's awareness and there's consciousness, but you're actually not trying so much. There's no hardcore will attached to that. There is like choice. I feel like as long as you're always in choice, you're good, right? The moment either good or bad, what we call good or bad, is happening and you have not chosen it, then you're already in a pattern again. Right? Even going to church, if you're just doing it out of habit, you're still in a groove. So I think with breath work, it's sort of like get you to be aware, first of all, awareness, and then you get to clear what you don't want. You become selective, right? The other thing I want to talk to you about is that it's really good to see strong men doing this and serving in a way where, like with Zuzu, right, he could only take the message from me because I was strong. So if I was not
she actually held a knife to my throat. No,
I would have done that.
I would have totally believed you. I totally
would have done
believe
that
you.
too.
Knowing you for 20 minutes, I'm like, yeah. How big was the shank?
But honestly, and I think that's important too because the message is out there. For a person like me, right, you're a sports person, that person has to have some authority. Right? Otherwise, you are not going to influence me or even have a say in what I do, right? So I think even prior to like the medicine, who you are matters as well, right? Because if you're going around, if I had to talk to him on that
it's
level,
how you show up too. Huh? Like
100%. I was doing
if you're
it already.
authentic, you can read bullshit. You know what I mean? You can read, and not just that, energetically. Mm-hmm. You feel it. You know when someone's talking shit or isn't.
And
really
he knew
genuine.
I was going to hit him
You
if he
know.
didn't do it. Like I was like, bro, I'm going to fucking
Yeah, look,
hit
I would have
you.
slipped and weaved and gave you an uppercut. But hey,
Well, you fucking
would've
show
been
me
all right.
proof.
but look, that's
But it matters. It matters, guys, you
but
know?
also it takes courage, and that's what I want men to know.
Yeah.
You know, like you think everyone thinks they're tough and they put on this facade, but when life smacks you in the face, you know, it takes a lot of fucking balls and courage to go, I've got two options here. What do I do? You know, do I rewrite? Do I like that vinyl record? Do I go, I'm going to start taking some control? Because I know that's exactly what breathwork does for me. I do Wim Hof breathwork every morning leading into one of Joe Dispenza's meditation practices, right? That's my morning ritual. And definitely if I was in a rage because it happens, you know, like at the end of the day, life is bigger than us.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to fucking throw shit at us, right? Mm-hmm. So I could literally be angry on the phone, something not going right, jump in my car, spend 10 minutes. I've rewritten the rest of that day, taking control of my destiny once again. You know what I mean? And I think that's the main thing that our mission is to get across, especially to men, men.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tell me one thing. I want to ask you something. We get a lot of pushback at the moment. I think you guys are a little bit ahead of us.
In America, I think you guys might be ahead,
in the sense that especially when he started to do it, there was a lot of pushback like, oh, you know, this is going to make you a pussy and
culturally,
you know, like it's going to make you silky and not as tough and strong and because you're going to get all emotional and shit. And I have not had that experience, honestly. And I'm trying to get them to experience it for themselves. Don't believe me, but try it. But they're afraid to try it because they think that's going to make them weaker and more emotional. What is your take on that? Like, and have you noticed the difference between like doing this in America and other countries and even in Australia? Have you noticed there's that pushback?
It's always different. I mean, less of a pushback because I can speak the language of the lad or the bro or the skeptic.
Okay.
Actually, you know, my experience with Australia so far is people that live it. Yeah, there's curiosity. People are trying it for the first time. Maybe they had a predisposition where they thought it was, you're a big baby or whatever. But actually, I've noticed here more than ever that it is part of, like you're mentioning, it's part of your routine. You're part of your routine. You believe in it so much. I feel more as if that it's actually part of people, part of their how they navigate through life. And I see more of a better, more honest and true relationship with it. The people that do it, it might be small numbers, but the numbers that do
it, yeah.
Yes, they're
I'm
doing
talking
it
about the ones that are sort of like within his gym as well, like his friends. Even
how,
what I mean?
How I would describe that as, sure, you can be a monster. You can tap into that aggression. But I think how one carries that in a respectful, graceful, reverent way is to be able to tap in to the other side. I think the strongest man can be vulnerable. Yes. I learned this from, like I mentioned, the medicine people that I've worked with, and good representations of what manhood and what masculinity is. I've gotten that throughout my life with some amazing coaches, with an amazing grandfather, but through the people I've worked with intimately in this space, I remember being in a teepee with 30 other people that I did not know.
How big was the teepee?
Big. I put it up. Imagine all of our backs are against the circle. Yeah. There's a fire in the middle, and we're doing this peyote ceremony.
Oh wow! Okay.
And I'll never forget. It's very masculine, the medicine.
Okay.
And it comes from a cactus. It's very it's actually a pretty new medicine, and it was delivered by the road boss, and he was. This is when I actually developed a better relationship with prayer as well. Always had a relationship with prayer, but more towards Jesus, rather than like actually praying and having intention and good thoughts about what you're embarking upon. And I'll never forget, like the road boss, Sleepy Eye, his name was. He was very, very strict and disciplined about the whole entire experience. Very masculine. Like you can only walk a certain way. You can't walk behind people. He called accountability. We're supposed to sit down the whole time, right? My knees were hurting.
How long was this for?
16 hours.
16 hours you have to sit.
I didn't leave the teepee
sitting down.
I didn't leave the teepee for 16 hours. You're actually supposed to be in the rabbit master position.
You probably couldn't leave if you tried.
No, I couldn't. My knees were stuck. And this is all throughout the night. I was originally told it was only supposed to be like 10 hours or something like that. And then I remember when the sun came up the next day, and I was like, okay, we're almost done. Nope. Still in it. And he was kind. This wasn't a normal experience. Like this is very intimate with their culture. So that him sharing it was a very big deal.
Yeah.
I'll never forget, like he actually did give people bathroom breaks. Me, and the competitive man I am, I was like, I'm not fucking leaving. I'm not fucking leaving. I'm not fucking leaving. That's it. Staying in it. And
the rest of the teepee celebrated?
As I'm pissing myself. No, but in that moment, I noticed him. I witnessed him guide and hold down the whole teepee. I was going to say fort, but it was a teepee. And though it was masculine, though it was disciplined, though it was logical and stable and all that masculine stuff, he was praying and crying.
Oh,
that's mad.
Fuck.
And that was a beautiful articulation and representation of what a man is. I still, after hearing him cry, I was more inclined to listen to him, because he was feeling the things he was felt while he was saying the things during his prayer. And that ability to tap in to that magic, because let's throughout all cultures, whether it be Native American culture or Buddhist or Islam, Christianity, prayer is big. Meditation, that type of thing. It's this Venn diagram of all religions. They have overlapping characteristics.
Yeah,
exactly.
And be kind to your neighbor.
Exactly.
Sacrifice. And prayer, and amongst other things as well. The pillars of all of them are which I like to believe in. I'm like, okay, who am I to say that these rules that are put in place around this religion are what I should follow, or that person's wrong for following it? I like to look at all the similarities they have.
Yeah, the foundations.
And that's what I choose to believe in.
Yep.
Yes.
Interesting that you said that, because when he started this journey, you know, I started to do spinal on him, and I said, and he would say to me, I'm really solid, you know, I don't cry and stuff. And I was like, it's great. I'm like, that's not fucking solid, you know? And I'm like, dude, you've got to, he goes, no, I'm really like, I make great decisions. Because he had already started the process, okay? So I said, no, man, you got to open that heart. And I said, I'll get you, right?
It was buried deep.
Yes.
It was, yeah.
Yes. And we did a breathwork journey. And man, I tell you, I've got it on recording, and it was
On the way there, she's like, "You're gonna cry." I said,
I'm gonna
"I don't
fuck
think
it."
so.
And
I didn't cry at my grandma's funeral. Like I don't.
And I'm looking at him
cry,
going, I'm
you
going to
know what I
fucking
mean?
get you. That's the competitive side of me, right? And he needs that too,
Do
right?
you know what it was? I used numbness as a protective mechanism. So when I did feel discomfort, I would turn numb
right?
Oh, yeah.
towards everyone, my
The
wife,
face.
Yeah.
everything.
And he thought,
Everything
He-
would be just here and nothing left
Yeah,
here.
and
It's
he-
all decision making from the brain. You know what I mean?
yeah, and he thought that was he actually believed, no, I really handle emotions well. And I
That-
said, no, you
that's
can't
strength.
see it.
I thought
Yes.
that was strength, focus, like alignment. I thought because it's here, it's not hurting me here. I can decide on what has to be
Yeah.
done. So
I know
thought that's
exactly what
Yes.
you're
it's
talking
supposed to
about.
be, you know what
That
I mean?
numbness feeling.
Yeah, numb.
That almost emotionless.
It's just like you're you're not having no feeling behind your intention. There's no feeling behind it. It's just the action. You know, it's just like intention and action, but there's no seed of
It's
feeling.
emptiness. It's
It's
emptiness.
emptiness. So I remember I said, all right, I'm going to get you today. And he's like, nah, man, nah, I'm solid. I'm like, fucking. And that was it. He's competitive. I'm competitive. I'm like, I'm going to get him. And then
So funny you
guess,
say that.
guess who won?
And wait, I'm sitting there, right? I'm on my
Yeah,
I'm on my
listen.
back. I feel this coming up. I tap my heart space 3 times and I start to cry.
Ball.
Not a sad cry,
Yeah.
but I'm like, what the fuck? I'm crying. Like I can't believe I'm tripping out, right? I'm crying. I can
did you
hear
hear?
her on the other side of the room going, yes. And I'm like, fuck you.
Fucking got him.
And in my head, I'm crying, but in my head, I'm laughing. Oh, you bitch. But I'm laughing. I'm having a good time, but I'm crying. On my physical self is crying. It's releasing, you know?
And then I went up to him then and I started to cry because I was like, to see a fucking man cry was the most, like even now, anytime a strong man cries, my heart gets blown open because I'm like, fucking, I know what it took to do that.
And ever since
Incredible.
that, and that's what I want people to realize, that ever since that release, I'm better husband, better father, better friend, better coach. You want me to stand side by side and punch on? I'll do that even better too, because it's all done through grace. You know what I mean? Not through force. Everything was forceful.
Yeah.
And when it's forceful, it's exhausting. You can't uphold that and keep doing that for a long time.
That force is resistance.
Yes.
It's a form of resistance.
100%.
Yes. So it was actually beautiful too. And, you know, it's so funny because I say that to people all the time. I say, you know, when you see a man, like that was and I felt more safe, secure, protected, supported by him after that happened with him. I was like, as a mate, and he said to me, right, he goes, now when I see a woman, because I love them. Because
it's not just
I love them. He was, you know, I had my.
Yeah, it's not just objective.
He
Like,
goes,
it's not
no, he goes,
she's
man.
good looking or
He
not good
goes,
looking
he
type
goes,
thing,
I
you know what I mean?
love them now.
Yeah.
I go, yeah, that's it.
I know exactly what you're talking about. I'm no stranger to knowing what I look like. I love looking at myself in the mirror.
Same.
But but I know that the certain energy I possess and I exude and I share, that it could come across as brazen, but more so like it's a lot. And also, I teach a lot of classes, or guide a lot of classes that are mixed. I've even taught all men, all women, but mostly mixed. And yes, I speak to the man, but I'm also very aware that I'm asking women that who knows what traumas they've had up until that point to close their eyes for 45 minutes or an hour and trust me to guide them in the breath. Also, to support them when they don't know me. So that authenticity that comes out, it creates this safe space. Breathwork is not possible unless you feel safe.
Yes. 100%.
You guys together, experiencing that together, it wouldn't be possible with anyone else.
No, that's right, yeah.
And that just lent you a more expansive, basically you leveled up to now the point where you look at women differently. And I was raised by women. My mom, my grandmother, my aunties, all of the above. And I was very lucky, like I mentioned, my grandfather, but mostly women. Yep. So I can speak that language, the nurturing element. But then again, I'm a guy. I'm a dude.
You can do that too.
I can do that too.
Yeah.
And I think that comes across well. And I think if I were to, like I said, have a script or a certain approach that always happened for my breath work, it wouldn't be received well.
Yeah.
You know, the element of sharing it authentically and allowing myself to feel, you know, there's an energy exchange. Like all the eyes are on me. Everyone's hanging on to every word. I have to allow myself to feel. Granted, I have to get my point across and be able to guide gracefully, like I said, but I have to allow myself to feel. So when you talk about the emotions that went through you from witnessing him, I would add another level to that, is that in my own practice, I know my tears. I have a really good relationship with my tears. Some people say an apple a day keeps the doctor away. Tears. You know, if I'm not experiencing a tearful emotion, it's kind of a waste. You know, I think living fully is to experience all emotions in one day. But it wasn't until the expansion of guiding where it leveled up my own relationship and understanding with it. When I told you I thought I was crazy for crying all these times, when I went to some breathwork classes and guided and received group sessions, I had a better understanding. And then when I started guiding myself, like I said, already previously having a good relationship with my own tears, my own emotions, I would start holding space for people. And you're in their energetic field, right? And when these emotions, this energy arises, you feel it. 100%. And that's the beauty of holding space. I'm not just barking orders at you and doing Simon Says with the breath. I am there to take care of your physical body while your consciousness, your spirit, your soul, your whatever you believe in, it's traveling. It's going somewhere. Why do you think they call it going on a trip?
Journey.
Right.
Journey,
right. That's what the psychedelic things are. You're going on a trip. So I'm here to take care of your body, and you know that support has lent me to be in the energetic field and feeling tears that were not my own.
Exactly.
And I've cried many different ways. And I'm like, what is this? These aren't my tears. And that is the most powerful thing. Again, when it first started happening, I thought I was crazy, but then it kept happening. And then the experience of which when you integrate thereafter, because I'd be remiss if I just barked orders, tell you to breathe, and then sent you on your merry way.
You're disconnected.
Nah, you got to talk about it.
Yes.
You know, we and I also hear someone articulate it differently. It makes me more comfortable as well. And then when it gets reflected upon me, like, hey, I felt this. I felt you there. Even if I didn't touch their head or their feet or whatever, they felt me there and they felt my presence. And I'm like, yeah, because I was. You know, and they saw some things. I'm like, oh, I saw that shit too.
We've got to do an event together sometime, because what you're explaining is exactly our last event we did in Melbourne. Same thing. 2 or 3 people there. I could feel their pain, their tears, and I couldn't help but to cry the way they were crying. You know what I mean? And in my head, I was like, just fucking stay strong. Like, fucking you. And I said, nah, just join them. You know what I mean? And it was crazy. Like, once you're in that energetic field, you're all connected. You know what I mean? And I just love it. Yeah. Honestly, the feeling, it's true. I find that's true purpose. It's actually helping. It's doing something. You know what I mean?
What are you in that moment? So I describe it as, you know, because I'm tall, skyscraper. An Empire State Building, there's a big rod on top.
Right.
That absorbs the lightning when it hits it. That's what you are in that moment. If you're holding space for someone, all this energy, all this electricity is happening. You are the siphoning of that energy. You have to feel it. You have to take it on. That is your responsibility in that moment. And actually, I want to refer back to my big ass in a teepee. I'll never forget this other lesson that I learned beyond feeling tears that weren't my own. Trauma. I'm very educated in trauma. I have a lot of experience with trauma. But one level of experience that blew me away was in the teepee. There was a few moments that I could really pinpoint where there was a a conscious universe, let's say concurrent event that happened all at once. Let's say there was 30 of us in this teepee.
Yep.
There was this overwhelming feeling at once. Okay. As soon as I felt something and I was grabbing the earth and feeling it breathe and being like, whoa, and like feeling this tension and anger, but also sadness and pain, all these things were happening. As soon as I felt that, the one chick in the corner that wouldn't shut up started crying. The road boss was moaning, like it just pain. And then the fireman, the doorman, were just like, they just made these noises. And like in this medicine, you're supposed to be stoic. You're supposed to let it happen, stare at the fire and let it go, right? But all of us having our first experience with this, we all felt at the same time. And I'm like, what's going on? And then after the 16 hours was up, we all integrated. We all were still a little buzzing, and then we're talking. We're in the pool. We're eating some food, kind of come down. Yeah. And I remember I said this out loud, not knowing it was going to be received or heard or there was
collectively they're going to friggin' understand,
right?
Yeah.
And this one woman heard what I said to someone else. I said, you know what? I guide breath work. I know when there's tears of mine. And there's not, and then there's tears of someone else's that are passing through me. I had this relationship. I knew the difference. And I say difference lightly now because in that moment I was like, you know, when everyone started like making noises and I was like, I was crying, but I was also angry at the same time. I was like, I couldn't tell what was my pain and what was someone else's. Because I know there's a difference, right? There's a difference. And I was like, I couldn't tell the difference. And the woman tapped me on the shoulder. I turned around, I was like, yeah. She's like, that's the point. What do you mean? It's like, there is no difference.
Yeah.
And my God, when I tell you fall into grace, I was like, oh, all this trauma is the same. Who am I to tell you that losing my parents is any worse than losing your grandparents or getting in a car wreck?
Yep.
It's all trauma. And there's no fucking spectrum. No. We just perceive it differently. Yeah. My experiences, I know, I hope it never comes to anyone else, but I know we're all put in this earth with parents, and eventually we lose them. Yeah. And God forbid you're my grandparents and lose children. That's unnatural. But it is natural to lose, to have that grief, to have that suffering, to have that pain. And in that moment, I was like, wait a minute. It's all the same. It's all the same. We're all just experiencing it and perceiving it differently because we're all different instruments.
Yeah, because there's no way you would have felt it unless it was recognized internally.
Exactly, yeah.
Cannot. Yeah. If you could not relate to it or recognize that pain, you wouldn't have been activated.
I was aware.
Yeah.
I was open.
Yeah.
But I was also confused.
Yeah.
And one of the more shining moments of just epiphany.
Yeah.
Thereafter, I was like, I couldn't tell the difference. And then she said, that's the point. There is no difference. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah. That's amazing. And see, that grounds it. That's what brings you back and goes, yeah, everyone's going through something in their own time, in their own space.
Human experience.
Absolutely.
All right.
You're fucking cool, man.
Fucking man.
Love you guys.
Bro, don't go back to USA or take us.
I'm moving
in. We like to finish off with a few questions. So I'm going to hit you with 3. Answer them however you want.
Okay.
Cool. Question 1. How do you define success after what you have experienced? This will be a hard one because
number 2 podcast.
You hit the pinnacle of your dreams as a youngster.
Yeah. What is success, man?
So, how do you see success now?
This might be a little cliche, but as simple as leaving the world better than you left it. Leaving the world better than you found it.
Yep.
And also, I look at older figures in my life, wise, experienced, a little people that have seen more years than me. I think when it comes to family and connections with loved ones, I think the impact that you leave upon people is the most profound success that you could feel. I one day would love to have children of my own who also then have children of their own, and have this, whether it be a family party or a holiday party, to look around the room and be like, yeah, I did that.
Yeah.
Everyone's smiling. Everyone's being cheeky.
Yeah.
That to me is success. To look upon my family and my loved ones and my connections with friends who I do like, you guys are my friends. No. Y'all are family now. We can't go through this type of experience and let me really flesh out my heart without having some sort of reciprocity where it's like understood and also given back and reflected in a beautiful way without being family. So exactly. I'm an only child. I don't have any of my parents anymore. I'm an orphan, but I'm really big on chosen family. And I think success is a reflection on the relationships that you have with other people and what people say behind your back. Yep. And behind my back, I'm pretty much thinking that people can say some good things. It doesn't mean I haven't burned a couple bridges.
Yeah,
no, but I think, yeah, exactly. Because I think that is one of my major measures of success. And thank you for asking me that, because I haven't answered that before.
I love that, man.
Because I thought for the longest time it was money, fame, and even then the amount of people I impact is not. It was. Like if I want to be a Joe Dispenza or a Wim Hof or whatever, no, it's not the amount, it's the quality.
It's the quality. I love that.
100%.
I love that. Question 2. Fuck, man, we got the same name as well.
Strong,
I'm going to grow a beard, grow
name.
my hair back.
No, big head.
I was actually thinking about...
This is the taller version.
I'm not dealing with
I was actually thinking about going your way. I think about shaving my head.
Yeah. All right, question 2, my bro. What are the benefits that you have found in both polarities? One being at the top of the food chain of football, and then also being in the spiritual realm.
Solar.
So what's the preface to that question? What did you say?
What are the benefits?
benefits.
One end of the scale and
from
the other end of the scale.
From being at the top of the food chain when it comes to American football, and now you're in the spiritual world. So what benefits do you find if you were that person there to the person you are today?
I think it refers back to your question and basically the how genuine you were about like what is the balance? How can men receive this, right? And I think the best people, the best stories, the best storytellers, the best breath work, the best life is dynamic. And I say dynamic because you can be one-dimensional. You can be a master of one trade.
Yep.
But being a jack of all trades, I think creates a dynamic, relatable, authentic, and expansive relationship with yourself, the world, and other people. Like one of my favorite things is that put me in a room of billionaires, I'll be able to talk their language. Put me in a room of a bunch of teenagers, talk their language. Women, I'll be able to speak to them too, gracefully. Bunch of athlete, just bros in a locker room, I can speak their language. So I think being able to reach the mountaintop of the NFL, and now having fallen down from the mountain and had to rebuild my home after I burned it down and climbed a new mountain, I associate that with being dynamic. So I think the people that I want in my life, in my space, in my environment are dynamic. And I think my relationship with both, reaching the NFL pinnacle, best of the best, 0.01% of the world. And then now, gracefully, authentically, genuinely leaning and believing in these spiritual modalities, healing modalities. My relationship with that offers me a dynamic approach and a dynamic relatability that people can learn from or feel.
I think, like we were saying upstairs while we were getting the coffee, like if your spectrum is wider, so even if you were at like when you were successful and you explored stuff that we might judge now, right? I feel much more better being held in a space where someone has explored maybe their shadows, maybe their darkness, maybe things that now out of choice, not out of judgment, we wouldn't like take part in. I feel more comfortable there because what my shadows then feel is safe enough for your shadows to see them, right? So I think you having that kind of success and exploring that world now you've come to this side. There's so many grooves in between, and those are the people where they fit in, right? But if you were a certain way, what I find with gurus or spiritual teachers, they're already on a pedestal, and it's a very small gap that you can actually feel like you fit in. But if you tell me you were the devil here and now you're this, well, I've got plenty of space.
You've got more capacity.
Yes.
So I think someone like you doing this now, and you have explored that thing, your capacity to hold space and make another feel like you're safe, you're held, you're seen, you're supported, you fucking fit. I'm not on a pedestal. You fit in this. That's the difference.
Bravo. And thank you.
Okay, last question.
Dun, dun, dun.
Almost there. What wisdom can you pass on to that young male that is looking for some stability and guidance in their life? These are hard questions, bro.
Yeah, damn it.
Zuzu, that was not my question.
Could you just do hit me one more time?
What wisdom can you pass on to that young male that is looking for some stability and guidance in their life?
I'm not so keen on, I'm saying keen, I've been in Australia for 2 weeks, Marty. I reckon. I'm so big on not giving advice.
Cool.
Or, to be honest, receiving advice. I think the best advice is to never listen to anyone's advice. You take into account, but you're going to make your own
Scrap
decisions.
the podcast, guys.
Well, I look at it from a lens of I'm just sharing my experiences.
Yes.
So if I'm speaking to this young boy, like we said earlier, not the same script for every person. Not every shoe fits the same person. So however young this boy or girl is, I would just listen to them. And I think listening to them would then empower them to listen to me, and sharing, authentically relating.
Yes.
And that's one thing I've learnt is listening. A lot of people come to me for advice in the gym because they see me on this pedestal as a coach and whatnot. And I used to feel like I had to give advice, like I had to answer or something. But now I just listen. And what you find is you don't speak back as much, but they gain more off you. And yeah,
absolutely.
It's just listening.
Just listening. And that was maybe one of the more impactful skill sets I have obtained over the last few years, largely in part due to breathwork, but also traveling. It's also very helpful to change your environment, whether it be different friendships, see how you are with discomfort. I got to a point where I had some experiences where I was like, I wasn't listening. Like how I was thinking about the next thing I was going to say or regurgitate or have an answer or reply or retort. Just listening. And listening authentically, it sinks, whatever is being said, it sinks deeper, which then can unearth something more relatable, something of more value. So, listening. And it's hard to tell a kid too, by the way, because, back in my day, listening wasn't a thing. But there were times when I can pinpoint certain coaches, men and women, that imparted wisdom on me or experience. I'm like, they made it an experience. I'm like, oh, you've went through something similar. People listen. Exactly. People listen to others who they can relate with, or they look alike, or they know from just first glance, like, oh, you've been through it. I can talk to both of you within 2 seconds. I'm like, yep, we've seen some very similar shit.
Yeah.
And we're both still smiling. We're both still here.
Yeah.
We both, you guys have families, and in order to have, any sort of stability in this chaotic life, you got to take care of yourself. You got to put your mask on before you put someone else's. You got to fill your cup before you empty it out for others.
Yep.
Exactly, bro.
And
yes.
I taught a few classes with couples, father, daughters, mother, son, most recently. And we did a little testimonial after, and I was like, Mama, how did you feel having your son in class? And she's like, well, you know, I didn't really notice. I was very self-centered. I was there for me. And because I'm there for me, I can be there for him. And I was like, hell yeah, mama.
Wow.
Gave her a big old hug and kiss. And I'm
That's
like,
it.
see you at next class.
Yeah.
Well, do you know a funny story though? I did tobacco with my daughter. You know when they put up, you know,
Snuff.
What's it? Yeah,
Frappe.
yeah,
Snuff sounded like something
Yeah.
else.
Frappe.
So I take my daughter along to these things. I'm like, do it with me. She's like, all right. And I remember happened, and I was really bang slammed into my body. But I was very in my body in the present moment. I was loving life. She'd been bang. I just noticed her like pass out. I'm like, you do you, man.
Yeah.
And I was like, no,
It's the best thing for her.
I will not take her out of that experience. And she had a shit one. And I was like, yeah, you needed that.
Yeah.
You know, I felt safe enough for her to go through such real hard stuff. And I did not feel the need to be involved in it. But it was incredible. So, you know, yeah, for a mum, especially a mum.
Oh, yeah.
That's wisdom.
Counterintuitive, too, at the same time.
100%, because I noticed it, but the intelligence knew more, right?
Emotional intelligence.
The intelligence kicked in and said, leave her. I was like, yep, she's safe.
Bravo, mama.
Incredible, yeah.
Well done,
Very
Aisha.
cool.
Round of
Aisha,
applause.
Thanks, brother.
Good job. I think we're going to wrap it up on that note as well. Joe, thanks, my brother, for coming on our podcast. And just, mate, honestly,
You're a legend, man.
your story sounds like a very, you know, familiar story to us.
Yeah.
And I think we're very blessed, and we're very grateful and appreciate you.
How do you think I feel? I just traveled across the world and I'm receiving this type of love from you guys. I mean, I feel like the luckiest guy in Melbourne.
Nah, you're incredible,
the whole
man.
mainland.
You're incredible. But you know what? You're integral with what you are putting out there now, and that comes across, and that's true connection, man. So I really appreciate meeting you. Thanks to Carlo over there.
Carlo represent.
All right,
Boom, boom.
Whoop, whoop.
Real recognize real.
Thank you, man. Seriously. Honestly, this was so much fun, and I
And
really
I'm sure
appreciate it.
we've built
really
a
appreciate
relationship. A relationship's going to last a long time.
Yeah.
And can you please tell us where people can
Yes.
find you, what you're doing? We're doing his event tonight, so we're pumped.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. So can
I'm
you?
pumped.
Yeah, I'm so excited, man.
A lot of my journey is on my Instagram.
Yep.
At Big Joe. Doing multiple podcasts.
It's a big
and
name
class-
to fill. I'm just
Yeah,
putting
no,
it out
it
there,
is.
bro.
It is.
Like,
Big shoes to
Joe,
fill.
Yeah, I'm like,
You know
dude.
what I was telling Aisha, you know, on like on movies when they say, oh, usually in prison, they're like, oh, Tiny's coming down and Tiny's huge. But you're actually Big Joe and you're big. You're not small.
Big.
Yeah. So at Big Joe, BIGJOE, I do have a website that has all my events and all
Okay,
my
sweet.
future stuff, heybigjoe.com. And there's other things in the works that will transpire and will grow from here on out. But, you know, like I'm approaching this whole journey with grace
Yep.
and with belief and integrity, because, you know, it is just me wanting to help people heal, because I know what the other side's like.
Yes.
I don't want
Yeah,
anyone else to
love
feel
it.
that way.
Yep, love it.
Yeah. Love you
Love
guys.
it. Thank you so
Awesome,
much.
man.
Thanks.
Thanks, brother.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Hey guys, it's Zuzu and Aish from Be Human Podcast. Firstly, we'd like to say thank you. We're very grateful for the support, ongoing support. Our podcast is one of our first passions. That's where Be Human really started growing its legs.
True.
Before the events and courses and other things that we have done. So we would love if you could please subscribe and continue the support, because it will help us bring on bigger guests and more interesting conversations, and just basically help us have that presence online there on YouTube and on our Spotify platforms as well. So I hope you all enjoy, and thank you for the support.
Thanks, guys.